Welcome guys, today I am here to do something very different to my normal action and adventure videos. Today I'm here to review a shoe, a running shoe. Now it sounds a little bit of a weird thing to suddenly start doing on a YouTube channel, and every now and again I do like to review products that I intend to use, namely the bags for athletes and my Garmin watch, giving them both a sort of practical review. Now I like to structure my reviews a little bit different to say some of the other more technical reviewing channels. I'm not here to tell you every single facet of the shoe. I'm not here to tell you every little measurement and how every little component was made. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm here to answer just some of those little questions that you might have before clicking buy. Do they look okay? How much do they weigh? Do they fit? Do they rub? Do they need to be broken in? How do they perform on a 10k slow? How do they perform on a 5k fast? But most importantly, this review is coming at you not through the optics of a runner, but through a hybrid athlete. Hyrox is one such event that is based around this particular discipline, the sort of hybrid fitness training model, which involves both sort of running and exercises in equal part. Now, not every running shoe, not every super shoe is appropriate for this kind of training. Now, let me just give you an example of this. I've got three such super shoes right here: Alphafly, Vaporfly, Hoka Carbon X. Now, these are all fantastic shoes, but they're meant for running on the road. They are slick underneath, and they all have one design issue. They've all got some weird aerodynamic point or fin or camel toe underneath at the back, which immediately renders them useless on a rowing machine. So that means none of those guys will be coming with me to Hyrox. The Nitro Elite are made by Puma, and Puma support and sponsor the Hyrox events, and you often see them at the events selling their merchandise, including their shoes and various other bits and pieces. So you would like to think that these shoes would be the most appropriate to wear at the event, and you do see lots of athletes wearing them. Now, why now is probably the next question. Why are you reviewing these shoes now? Two reasons. These shoes are not brand new shoes. They've probably been kicking around for 6 months already. But they've recently come down in price, got a good deal on them. So now is the time that I bought them, 10 weeks out from the first Hyrox of the season, which is at Birmingham. And the intention is to take these shoes, and hopefully these shoes will get me a good time. So what we're going to do, we're going to open this box, we're going to have a look at the shoe, quick look around it, nothing too insane. Then we'll get them on my feet, then we'll conduct some tests. All right. You can see that they have this sort of curved bottom, the power plate's exposed there, a lot of foam on show here. One thing I will say about running on the road, and this is something that happens in my Hokas as well, is that when you get foam on show, stones inevitably end up jammed in it. You may end up some jammed into this groove too, we'll see. The tread, the grip, isn't massively overbearing, which provides it with running efficiency. It's whether or not that this tread holds up when under max tension, when you've got 152 kilos of sled to push. So we shall see. You can tell that there's quite a lot of rigidity in the shoe when you try and bend it that way, which is the carbon fibre plate sort of pushing back on you. The heel counter feels pretty decent, but the walls of the shoe don't. And the worry is when the shoe has weak walls at the ankle, is that it may cause sort of the overpronation that a lot of runners find. Certainly I did. Obviously these are a neutral shoe, so I will be looking out for sort of overpronating tendencies when running in them. They do have something called power tape here on the inside, which is obviously just a buzzword for this strip that runs on the inside. That may be a preventative measure to stop them sort of that medial decline in the middle. We shall see. apart from that, the Puma grip has a nice sort of logo on, and everything just looks really quite nice. So I guess the next step would be to try them. Wow, went on like a pair of slippers. You can feel the foam in the heel. Yes, you can. Do a little toe test, heel test. Alright, can't wait to get these out on the road. Let's go give them a test. Hi guys, right, so I've got the Puma Nitro Elite 2 trainers on, and I've come out to do a very slow 10k with my daughter. Initial tests, just sort of on my feet, they feel fine, they feel comfortable, no rubbing of any kind. I've put the heel locks laces on, which left me with very little lace to actually tie into a bow. Tiny little niggle, but obviously just a new set of laces would resolve that. So we're going to get started. I'll give you some feedback as we go around. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, so I am 4 miles into my easy run, and my Puma Nitro Elite 2s are doing fantastic. The one thing I will say, and I don't know if it's just that I need to tie my shoes up a bit tighter. I have heel locked them, which means that they are quite tight, but I might tighten them down all the way down the actual foot. I am feeling a bit of overpronation, so something to keep an eye on. But like I said, these are not going to be my primary runners. These are going to be my Hyrox and a hybrid training shoe. So a bit of running, a bit of gymming. This is merely a test, just to make sure that they are in fact okay on my feet. From a size perspective, they seem bob on, really comfy. Nothing's rubbing, nothing's touching. It's all good. Hi guys, so today I have come to the gym to test the Puma Nitro Elite 2 through a series of exercises that are used in a lot of hybrid fitness competitions. I have the shoes on my feet, and I'm going to set a few things up and see how they fare. I've engaged the heel lock because that is quite a common thing to do when you are pushing heavily through the toes. Alright, let's get on with it. Need one of these. Has 90 kg in weights on a 60 kg sled, making it the Hyrox weight. Now it does run a little bit smoother on this, but it should be enough for a test. Okay, so that is the sled push tested. All seems okay. No slippage on the heel. The only thing I am noticing is the insole is wrinkling a little bit. One of the
Other exercises are burpees, a lot of time on your toes, and lunges, which probably focuses more on the stability component of the trainer. So we'll try them now. One because a lot of the super shoes slip out of this bit, whereas these puppies got round heel, so far so good. Not much difference on that one. It's all arms. Slight weakness on the shoe when you're turning in a sort of U-turn or semicircular fashion. Certainly when you're doing something like the farmer's walk, when you've got load and you turn in a corner, it accentuates the overpronation of the inside foot. So let me show you what I mean. Does this. Hard to demonstrate, but it's definitely noticeable when I was turning the corners just then with the farmer's cap. Hi everyone, welcome. Today I have come down to my local parkrun to continue my review on the Puma Nitro Elite 2 trainers that I'm wearing. Parkrun is setting up behind me and we'll start in about 15 minutes. Now the battle plan for today will be run as hard as I can in the situation that I've got. I've got trainers that are an unknown measure. I've got to carry a GoPro around with me. I've also got a running belt on with my bits and bobs in, so it's not my number one lightweight running setup, but I'll give it my all. The idea is that I'll just get a good feel for what these trainers have to offer when it comes to sort of a max effort 5k. Alright, so I'm just going to carry on getting warmed up, and then I'm still sort of aching from the workout we did the other day for test 2 in the gym.
Put your hands up, Richard, where are you?
Okay, I'm about to start in 2 minutes. Okay, we're off. She's so good. Wow! Just finished. About 1940. Considering everything, I'll take that today. I'll talk about the shoes when I catch my breath. It took 3 guys to get back into the top 10. Oh, you beast. Okay, initial thoughts. You certainly don't get the pop of the Alpha Flies. It's more of a Vaporfly feel underfoot, sort of lower to the ground. You notice, if you run in Alpha Flies a lot, you notice the air cushions in the toes, that little snap. Yeah, like I say, more of a Vaporfly feel. Now I did get about a 1940 just now, carrying all this stuff, so I'm not going to beat myself up too much. So I finished 9th. I slipped from 7th. A couple of guys went ahead of me, and then a couple more overtook me. But as the last 2 turns came, they started to slow down. So I overtook 3 in the last 2 corners. One of the guys, I don't know if I caught it on camera, tried to keep up with my sprint, but I'm good at sprints. And I'm pretty sure that's where these shoes shine, in the sprint. The sort of small profile of the shoe and the sort of lightness of it and the aerodynamics of it just adds probably more in its favour to sprinting.
Hi guys, welcome back. Now, we are at the conclusion part of this particular video. We are talking about the Puma Nitro Elite 2 trainers. Did they pass my tests? Did they meet my expectations of the shoe? Will they be suitable for the Hyrox event that I bought them for? Like I said at the beginning, 3 tests. I wasn't going to do a wider series of tests. I wasn't going to test them over longer distances or every exercise at the gym. No. There's absolutely no point me doing that. I just wanted an initial gauge to figure out, is this a sort of shoe I would like to take into a competition? Okay, through the optics of a hybrid athlete rather than just a runner. There's so many running review videos out there that just go straight into all the stats and the this and the that. Oh my god, it blows your mind. Ultimately, do they look all right? Do they feel all right? Do they rub? Do they bother you at all? Is there any performance degradation throughout the various exercises that you do? If it ticks all those boxes, then chances are it's a competitor for your event. So the 3 tests that I did. 1, long, easy, and it gave me a nice soft entrance to using this shoe. There was no stress, I just sort of plodded along at about 9 to 10 minute miles. Everything was fine. There was no rubbing. There was plenty of space in the toe box, which was a concern because that's one of the things that people have criticised about this particular shoe, that it's narrow around the forefoot. No, none of that. The one thing that I probably did notice more than anything was the sort of lack of support. And this will be a common theme throughout this particular video. Then the second test was I took it down to my local gym and I put it through a load of Hyrox specific exercises that feature in the competition. I didn't beat around the bush, I went straight to the exercises, namely the sled push. It's always one of those things that's considered and overthought, and there's just so much anxiety surrounding the sled. But you don't need like football studs to get them moving. A lot of the sort of decent running shoes, as long as the tread isn't worn out, will be sufficient. So you need something that is useful to you much beyond just the sleds. It needs to be still needs to be a decent running shoe. There's 8k of running, and there's 30 to 40 minutes of worth of running, certainly at my sort of pace. So it has to be an efficient running shoe, but then it has to be able to do the sleds, it has to be able to do the lunges, it has to be able to do the burpees, has to fit into the foot restraints on a rowing machine. Really super important. So I went through all of those various exercises, and lastly today I went to my Parkrun and I ran a relatively modest effort. Now I ran this at about 90% of my ability or thereabouts. You may ask, well, why didn't you run it at your maximum ability? Well, I had to carry the camera, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever filmed yourself when you're max efforting. It is tough. Just to sort of spoiler alert, yeah, I came 9th with a 19:39 time, and it was a hot finish. Obviously, you've probably watched the clips by now. You've seen me running against a guy that's probably half my age. Yeah, it was a close finish, and that guy, to sort of the finish line was in sight for him, and I had a little bit of wind to get past him, and he dropped his own hammer to maintain pace, and I think if it was a bit longer he might have took me, but pipped him just at the post, which is makes me feel a little bit good. So they were the 3 tests. I suppose to finish this particular video I need to be a little bit conclusive as to what I liked and what I disliked about the shoes. So I like the way they look, I like the way they fit, I like the sort of efficiency in a straight line. They are very on par with probably the Vaporflies. This is what they're most akin to. As you can see, they are a very similar profile. They're very sort of pointy shoes. They've kind of got a lot in common, probably right down to the carbon plate in terms of sort of weight and profile. There's a lot of similarities, and I think this is a Vaporfly competitor, not an Alphafly competitor, and that's probably brings me on to one of the things that I noticed when I was running today. Now, under race conditions, I would ordinarily race in an Alphafly. A lot of people do these days. What I noticed with regards to this shoe, it feels very flat. Although there's only a 6mm drop from the sort of heel to the toe, I felt very flat on the ground. And I didn't necessarily feel the full benefit of the sort of Meta Rock sort of features of the shoe. You're supposed to sort of, if you imagine rolling, it's supposed to aid with that particular dynamic, but what I generally feel is it's more of a like a pancaking. So very much that it is a soft shoe. This foam is soft, and when it's got sort of all my 81 kilos bearing down on it, it does have a tendency to go as you run in. It's hard to quantify like the carbon plate, although you know it's in there because it's a very stiff shoe that way. What I did notice, and one of the drawbacks I think that was discovered, and it was discovered when doing the farmer's carry in the gym, this is when it was most obvious, it does happen at other times, is that the overpronation effect when you turn a corner, obviously the outside edge, so when you turn that way with this particular one, the entire shoe does lean in. This power tape, whatever that is, doesn't really assist. It's got really weak ankle support, and it's quite a poor shoe for support in general. But that's not necessarily why it was made. It was made to go fast in a straight line, is my guess. So if you can put up with the fact that your ankles might lean in when you're turning corners, then it's not a huge problem. For me, I would probably not run past a 10k in this, because that's where my gait starts to degrade and the overpronation starts to come in. When I start to get tired, the ankles start to go in. I know this, I've seen this in video, I've seen this on photos, I just know this about myself, and if I was to run, say, a half marathon in this, by the end, my ankles would be hurting, because that last 10k was the ankles would have been all like leaning inward. It is a neutral shoe, and I do have tendencies to overpronate, but if you have ever bought support shoes, you know that it's the Forrest Gump end of the shop. None of those shoes are super shoes, none of them have carbon, they're all horrible to wear, they all push your arch up, and as you know, as much as I should wear more of those shoes, and I do own support shoes, but you are never going to get good times in them, because they're just crap for it. You don't get carbon fibre support shoes or lightweight support shoes. You just get big, lumpy, full of plastic, full of support, and you're never going to get a personal best with those types of shoes, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you become. And that's why I have at least 5 pairs of carbon shoes. And this is the most recent addition to my arsenal. So, lacking support is probably what I should have just said, but I'm not reviewing these through the optics of a runner. obviously that's what I would say if I was reviewing them through the optics of a runner, but I'm not. I'm reviewing them from optics of a hybrid athlete. Now, you do go around a few circles at a Hyrox event, as you would a lot of the sort of indoor fitness events if there's a running component, but it's not going to bother you, not really, not for that short a time, because you're only running short chunks over and over and over again. The only place where the stability was a problem were things like the lunges, where you have to bear down on one foot and balance is a thing. You find your foot's twitching, and what it's doing is it's trying to offset the squishiness. If you look at it closely, and I did do this, one of the videos I'd sort of lunged in front of the camera, and you can see that my foot is constantly going left and right, which is it's compensating, it's trying to balance on the foam, and that was an interesting thing. I didn't feel particularly secure, but again, it's only one element of the entire event, and you have to weigh up the pros and cons of what you save potentially in the run against what you might lose, maybe 2 seconds, whatever, in the lunges, because you're having to offset on the balance side of things. So, a really cracking shoe. And one thing I did say toward the end of my Parkrun component of the test, right at the end when I did have that sprint off with the younger fella, is that's where this shoe felt strongest. Obviously when you sprint you start to lean upon to your toes more, and it becomes more of that sort of action. You're bounding, and you're bounding fast. Your cadence, your stride, everything increases just to get to the line before that younger dude did, and I think that's where these shoes probably are better than I wouldn't necessarily say good for long distance. I would say short, sharp, sprinty type things, even borderline speed work is this sort of shoe. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily go more than a 10k, and I think it will always come down to individual preference and probably the events within your event. So let's say if there's a deadlift or a squat, exercises that may require extreme weight, this foam is not going to appreciate those kind of exercises. So anything under a heavy barbell, you're probably looking at a harder shoe, a flatter shoe. So yeah, when it comes to dynamic movements, this shoe probably will come into its own, like the burpees, and things like that. One of the things that is important, certainly from a Hyrox perspective, is it needs to be able to fit into the rowing machine. This little protrusion on the back of the Nikes has you falling out of the rowing machine pretty damn quickly. Just your feet slip out. If anyone wears these to a Hyrox event, you're a mentalist. And if you do, take a pair of scissors to this pointy bit at the back, because it's ridiculous. Right, so I think I've jibber-jabbered on long enough about this shoe, and I will see you in my next video. Oh, subscribe please. See you later. Mart out.